Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of China Update, where we discuss leading political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. And first up, it's official, China is pouring titanic resources into winning the global AI race. According to a UK-based The Financial Times report published this week, local governments in some of China's energy-rich provinces are now offering subsidies to cut electricity bills by up to 50% for data centers that use only domestically made AI chips. The measure aims to offset the higher energy consumption of Chinese chips, which remain less efficient than Nvidia's, and to accelerate Beijing's ambition to build a self-reliant AI ecosystem. The Financial Times reports that provisional authorities in Gansu, Guizhou, and Inner Mongolia, areas with abundant hydropower and coal resources, are leading this new round of incentives. Data centers powered by Chinese chips from companies such as Huawei and Cambricon can see their power costs slashed in half, while those using Nvidia hardware are explicitly excluded. This is a serious policy of subsidization. AI, as many know, consumes a lot of energy, and cutting the bill by half is significant. Electricity used to generate the same amount of compute power, or tokens, from Chinese chips is roughly 30 to 50% higher than with Nvidia's H20 processors. Huawei has tried to compensate for its chip's weaker single-core performance by linking multiple Ascend 910C units with large clusters, but this increases energy use further. The new power discounts thus make a significant difference. Unit electricity costs in these inland provinces already run about 30% lower than in coastal regions, and the subsidies reduce them further to around 0.4 RMB per kilowatt hour, about 5.6 US cents, compared to an average of 9.1 cents in the US. While these subsidies cushion the efficiency gap, they also reflect a deeper strategy. By making domestic chips financially attractive, even before they reach performance parity, Beijing is effectively using its electricity wealth to localize a critical layer of the AI supply chain. Quote, "Power is free," end quote, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang remarked in an interview this week on the sidelines of an AI summit. Remarks we'll return to shortly. He acknowledged that China's state-driven approach could give it an edge in the AI race despite technological lag. In a parallel move, UK-based Reuters reports today that Beijing has issued new guidance barring foreign AI chips from any data center projects that receive state funding. Two sources told Reuters that regulatory authorities have ordered such projects, if less than 30% complete, to remove installed foreign chips or cancel planned purchases. Facilities further along in construction will be reviewed individually, but the principle is clear. No Nvidia, no AMD, and no other foreign processors in publicly funded Chinese data centers receiving hundreds of billions of dollars in state funding. The directive reportedly covers Nvidia's H20 chip, the most advanced model still permitted for export to China, as well as even more powerful processors such as the H200 and B200, which are already barred under US export control rules, but billions of dollars worth have been reportedly smuggled into the country. Some projects have been suspended entirely, including one planned in a northwestern province that intended to deploy Nvidia hardware. This guidance dovetails with the power subsidy policy. Chinese chip makers get preferential access to both funding and electricity, while foreign vendors are effectively locked out of the fastest growing segment of the domestic AI infrastructure market. For all the global complaint and criticism of US protectionism in recent years, Chinese protectionism is greater in depth and breadth and has a longer history. The new measures in Beijing come as US policy on AI chip exports remain both strict and at times inconsistent. During a White House press briefing this week, a spokesperson told reporters that, quote, "As for the most advanced chips, the Blackwell chips, that's not something we're interested in selling to China at this time," end quote. Just hours earlier, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had told CNBC that Nvidia might be able to sell its current generation of high-end chips to China within 12 to 24 months. Quote, "Once they are no longer the most advanced," end quote. Bessent called Nvidia's Blackwell design, quote, "the crown jewel," end quote, but noted that the company innovates so rapidly that today's cutting-edge chip could be 3 or 4 generations down its product stack within 2 years, at which point export restrictions might loosen. discussion. The conflicting tone from Washington leaves Nvidia in an awkward position. US officials are signaling both a desire to maintain technological dominance and a recognition that absolute restriction may not be sustainable in a fast-moving market. Despite efficiency challenges, China's domestic AI infrastructure build-out is accelerating. US bank Goldman Sachs estimates that Chinese cloud service providers will increase capital expenditure by about 65% in 2025 and invest more than $70 billion in new data center capacity, though we note this is roughly 15 to 20% of what US hyperscalers are expected to spend. A reminder that while Chinese state capitalism is very powerful, so too is American free market capitalism. Meanwhile, electricity capacity for Chinese data centers is projected to jump 30% this year to 30 gigawatts, and one major AI company reportedly plans to increase its own capacity tenfold by 2032. These investments indicate that Beijing's strategy is entering a build it and they will come phase. The focus is on constructing infrastructure and nourishing domestic chip ecosystems rather than waiting for perfect performance parity with Nvidia. Of course, this is a huge gamble. If they're right, it will mean that China closes the gap and perhaps in some areas surpasses the US. If they're wrong, however, it could mean trillions in white elephants at a time when Chinese debt is surging, productivity is cratering, and China's structural slowdown accelerating. Taken together, the electricity subsidies, chip use restrictions, and massive infrastructure expansion show how China is converting its energy advantage into an industrial weapon. By linking cheap power directly to domestic chip adoption, Beijing is turning the country's electricity grid into a lever of technological independence. For Nvidia, all of this news is quite bad. The company faces both regulatory exclusion and competitive substitution in what was once its second largest market. For China, however, it marks a clever synthesis of industrial and energy policy, a bid to win the AI race, not through faster silicon, but through cheaper compute. As Jensen Huang himself, speaking at the Future of AI Summit this week, observed, quote, "China is going to win the AI race." End quote. Whether he is right or not, it's too early to say. The US still enjoys massive advantages: deep capital markets, the most advanced technology, access to global talent pools, even in an age of immigration skepticism, and advanced economy allies from Europe to Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. But one thing is for sure: China is in it to win it, and is willing to take trillions of dollars from Chinese households to pour into these efforts. AI may well be the next industrial revolution, thus its implications for geopolitical power are vast. We will continue to follow the space very closely, along with all other China analysis and developments. If you'd like to come along for the ride, we'd love to have you as part of the community. Consider subscribing, hit that bell notification icon, and you'll be on top of all updates as they're released. If you're getting some value from today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you'd like to help keep China Update financially sustainable, I rely primarily on your support to keep going. It is just me making these episodes every day, and I have and will continue to keep them open and free for all. Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. This is a huge help. Thank you so much, everyone, for all the incredible ongoing support. Next up, China has defied economic gravity before. Yet beneath the headlines of resilience from the stock market to the AI race, an old ghost is stirring again. The real estate crisis, now almost half a decade old, that refuses to die. Shenzhen-based China Vanke, or Vanke Co., once a pillar of China's housing boom, continues to find itself adrift. Its largest shareholder, Shenzhen Metro Group Co., a state-owned enterprise that holds a 27% stake, is pulling back support. The city rail operator has asked Vanke to retroactively pledge collateral for 20.4 billion yuan, $2.9 billion in unsecured loans, and has capped future credit lines. A shock move that has sent Vanke's bonds tumbling. For months, Shenzhen Metro was viewed as Vanke's white knight, quietly ensuring liquidity as Beijing's informal bailout machine kept defaults at bay. but the latest about-face signals a turning tide, with 5.7 billion yuan in bonds maturing this December and another 7.7 billion due by mid-2026. Banca's cash, covering just 44% of short-term debt, is running dangerously low. Contracted sales are expected to plunge 40% this year, leaving a 100 billion yuan funding gap. This withdrawal signals Beijing's waning appetite for open-ended rescues. For 5 years, authorities have relied on selective, unspoken interventions to stabilize developers and avoid a systemic crisis. That approach worked until now. While the government pivots to tech and innovation, as we just saw, new home sales continue to collapse, down 42% year-on-year in October, showing that Wanke's predicament, alongside many other developers, is far from unique. Meanwhile, Country Garden Holdings Co., another fallen titan, is nearing approval of its $14.1 billion offshore debt restructuring, aiming to trim liabilities by up to 20%. The plan may bring temporary calm, but the broader picture remains bleak. As Shenzhen hesitates and sales slump, Banca's unraveling offers a sobering truth. China's property reckoning is not over. The government may have shifted its focus, but its most formidable economic zombie has come back to life, and Beijing will be hoping that its spending on AI, semiconductors, and advanced technology will not go down the same road of its housing market. And finally for today, China is seeing a revival in marriages this year, as official data show a 9% increase in new marriage registrations in the first 3 quarters of 2025 compared with the same period in 2024. According to the Ministry of Civil Affairs, 5.152 million couples tied the knot between January and September, an increase of 405,000 from a year earlier. However, before Beijing celebrates, the devil is very much in the details. And as we will see, this will likely be a temporary jump. Indeed, the figure remains 538,000 below the 2023 level. One major reason behind this rise is the government's introduction of nationally accessible marriage registration, allowing couples to marry anywhere in China rather than being limited to their place of residence. This convenience has even created a new form of marriage registration tourism, as scenic destinations and urban landmarks across the country have set up special registration venues. On the 29th of August, the Qixi Festival, known as China's Valentine's Day, Shanghai alone registered 2,310 marriages, the highest Qixi total in nearly a decade. Notably, 1,130 of these couples came from 29 other provinces using the new national system to make vows in the city. Local governments are also adding economic incentives. Several cities in Zhejiang province, the coastal province around the Yangtze River Delta, have begun issuing marriage consumption vouchers to newlyweds, while Hunan province's recent policy package encourages localities to offer marriage red envelopes or vouchers where feasible. Commentators note that the rebound is more than statistical. It signals that even amid demographic headwinds, young people are not rejecting marriage outright. They are seeking stability, realistic expectations, and institutional support. Nevertheless, the trend is still clear. Marriage and the resulting childbirth rates continue to collapse, as China continues to fall over its proverbial demographic cliff. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Thursday, and I hope to see you for the next episode, which will either be tomorrow or on Saturday.